There we go. What's up, people? How we doing? We got quite a few people watching live. Good to see you guys. My name's Jordan. If this is your first time watching Coffee with a Killer, what I do is I go over just a bunch of random stuff that I've learned over the past 10 plus years, being an entrepreneur, being self-employed, running companies, like the whole gig. The whole gig. How's everybody doing? Good morning, ZUQ Fest, Nathan, and the rest of y'all. So I titled this episode Let's Get Morbid. I think I have that somewhere. Where is that bad boy? Maybe? Let's Get Morbid. And I want to talk a little bit about a couple things, but mainly the buzzwords around town, around these circles are all about, generational wealth and I'm building legacy and I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Most of the time, what I notice with people that are talking like that, which I love it, I'm all about it. It fires me up. You want to get me on a tangent, which I'm sure I'll be on today. You talk about generational wealth. But a lot of people don't do jack diddle about it. I say this almost every podcast. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always had. So the other big one is if nothing changes, nothing changes. You guys have heard me say it a million times. But what the heck does that mean when it comes to generational wealth? So what I hear people say is when I get to blank, I'll do blank. When I get to $500,000 a year, I'll start to, or once I've gotten $1 million in the bank, I'll leave that to my kids. What they're describing is this thing in the future that they may or may not hit. And a lot of reasons why they don't hit it is they simply don't have enough time. So this is a little bit of the morbid part of it. Let's say I'm going to use Paul because Paul is the most recent comment. Good morning, Paul. Still in your first cup? Man, I had to drink water. Apparently, I don't drink any water. I thought there was water in coffee. I thought there was water in beer. Apparently, it's not the same. I am jealous of you. And I've completely lost my train of thought. A lot of times when people are talking about wealth, it's when I get to blank, I'll start, or I will start working on generational wealth. And most people don't get there because they don't have enough time. Okay. So picking on Paul, I remember now, picking on Paul, my assumption, and I could be completely wrong in this, but my assumption is that Paul's parents or guardians didn't leave him anything, of significance. Didn't leave him generational wealth, to be more specifically. Maybe John, maybe Richard, maybe Nathan. And most likely it's not because they didn't want to. Most parents don't say, not really into these kids, don't really like them that much. I don't want to do anything for them. I don't want to build a legacy. I don't want generational wealth. I think I've only talked to one person that legitimately did not want to build wealth, and they had their own reasons for that. It's not for a lack of desire. I think the goalpost is so far out that people don't accomplish it, and therefore they die and don't accomplish what they wanted to accomplish. That's the morbid part. And we hear a lot of these like cute statistics. One of them was, if you put $377 a month in the S&P 500, it'll be worth $1 million after 30 years. Anybody ever heard that? If you invested $1 a day, if you just did X, Y, and Z. Now, mathematically speaking, they're not wrong. And if you guys did that, put in $377 a month for 30 years, yeah, the math works out to be about $1 million. I don't know if that solves the whole problem. And I'm not against $1 million, but $1 million ain't what it used to be. Amen? It's just not. Like the world isn't the same as it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago. In fact, it's gotten significantly more difficult. So while we look at this number and we think, man, $1 million a year, and by the time my kids are 30, they could have $1 million. That doesn't solve the problem. It helps a little bit, but it really doesn't solve the problem. But even just doing that would be more than what most people get or have when, the mantle is passed, so and so passes away. Here you go, son. Here you go, daughter, whatever it might be. So even that would be better. And before you get crazy, every single one of us can come up with $377 a month. Every single one of us can come up with $377 a month. There's not a single person listening to this now or in the future that can't come up with $377 a month. Okay? Agree? Now, let's say let's say that doesn't make any sense, and let's say we do just $100 a month. I'm looking at my notes over here. Say we do $100 a month, and we could accomplish 10%. We let it compound. Well, that's $303,000 over 5 years. That's $3 million over 7 years, and that's 92 million over 10 years. So if I started doing that today, set up an account, put in $100 a month, didn't touch it, forgot about it. In fact, I set it up on auto pay. 10%, we've got some algorithms that do 10%, like VX10 as an example. 10% would be kind of the low end of that. Minus kind of the beginning of 2026 has been a bit funky with the what happening over where. But since like 2023. Okay. Well, now we're getting closer because that'd be my kids would be 15 years old and that'd be 92 million. Well, I could do some damage with that, yeah. But again, does that solve the problem? Because then they'd get taxed out the wazoo and they wouldn't have a vehicle, like a wealth vehicle. Is this making sense to anybody? So my point is like there's examples out there, like the 377 a month for 30 years equals $1 million. And if you invested 100 a month and got 10%, over 10 years, that's 92 million. There's examples out there. But very, 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 very few people do anything like this because, again, I think they're thinking about themselves first. I think they're thinking about their first name, not their last name. When I accomplish X, Y, and Z, then I will do that. Versus just starting, just doing it, just do it now. Yeah, but I want to get free first. I've said this a lot of times. A lot of the seeds I'm planting now, I won't necessarily see them all harvest in my lifetime. As an example, my kids, not my wife, my kids are the benefactor of my Havila Metals banking that just recently has grown by 50,000. And it continues to grow and grow. And every month we buy more of this, right? We buy gold, we buy silver. Like this, but I don't think I'm going to hit my goals in my lifetime for generational wealth. Make sense? You still watching? So some of the things that I'm doing, I know I will not reap the harvest of that. And that's okay. Because damn it, I'm planting seeds no matter what. Because again, if my family, my lineage, the people that have come before me, if I just continue to do what they've done, I'll continue to have what they have. And what they have isn't bad, but it also doesn't fit my vision and my goal for the generations that come after me. Okay. So if all the generations before me didn't hit the goal, I have to do something doggone different than what they did. And what they did wasn't bad, it wasn't wrong. It's just I feel like I might have some different information because the world's evolving and changing, etc. I feel like I have some different information than what maybe they had when they were growing up, when they were 38, 28, whatever. So my point is that if the people in your life have worked towards a goal, and let's say that that goal included generational wealth, and you didn't get generational wealth, and you know that your parents didn't get generational wealth, and let's say you know your grandparents, they didn't. You're talking 3 generations, homie. You're talking 3 generations. Pretend every generation lived, that's 300 years. Pretend that they lived 100 years. That's 300 years worth of not hitting the mark. So if they worked at Cisco and retired and had a 401k and you didn't get generational wealth, you have to do something different than that. That isn't wrong. It's not what I want. And I'm assuming if you guys listen to this show, you want something different as well. That's probably why you follow me. Yeah. So you've got to do something different. It could be, and you can do this. I'll bring her on. I've got a wealth consultant, kind of like an IRA, self-directed IRA, but not a self-directed IRA type person. But I can do all of this tax free for my kids, because giving them $92 million and they have to pay 30% on that, that also doesn't fit my goal. And also just giving them $92 million doesn't solve my problem. Be honest with me. Is there anybody in here that would just point blank give your kids $92 million cash? Is there anybody here that would do that? If yes, we need to have a serious conversation. That's not the solution. But I can build a bank. I already have. You can build a bank. You guys have access to my dashboard. You can build a bank. And then the 92, let's say you gave them 92, and let's just say they go below it, you never lose the 92 because it's made up of this. And this, like, I got to get this shipped over to Idaho. It's probably not the smartest thing to just have a bunch of precious metals in my basement. Yeah, it'd be zero in no time. So again, like the whole scenario of the S&P 500, number one, it's taxed when you pull it out. Number two, you would never just give your kids cash. You know what my 5-year-old would do with cash? Probably buy Legos and candy, right? So again, and maybe you did have, maybe some of you guys have had some sort of an inheritance cash. It probably will stop with you. Let's say that your parents, let's say you got $400,000 cash. That was your inheritance. You get the 400K. While that is great, that doesn't solve the problem because it'll probably die with you unless you do something with it. That's the whole problem, is like people like don't know what to do with it. Number one, they don't know how to build it. Number two, they don't know what to do with it. So in the Havila scenario, if I'm building a bank, let's just do some math. Same scenario, let's say I invest $100 a month, 10%, it compounds all the way from 300,000 after 5 years, 7 million after 3 years, 92 million after 10 years. That's not my opinion, that's just the math on that scenario. You know, you guys throw in with Havila, let's just say we have 92. $70%, $64 million, and you never lose the 92. I think there's this element, and I'd love some opinions on this. I think there's like these elements of, here's why people don't do this. Number one is it's too far out. Like they're like 10 years. I have to do this for 10 years. Dude, $100 a month is like me skipping out. Like last night was pizza and movie night. It was $100. Skipping one pizza and movie night a month, and I could hit this goal. You know, that's a bottle of scotch. That's 2 Saturdays at the cigar lounge. Like, it's not crazy here. But I think people don't do it because it's too big. It's too far out. Man, it's 10 years, Jordan. I'm not gonna do this for 10 years. or they'll forget about it, right? Get too busy. Number two, I think there's a lot of selfishness out there. And a lot of times people, it's not that they don't make money, but it's that what they do with the money is it's very singular minded. It's very me. Well, I want to buy a better house. Well, I want to do go on vacation. Well, I want to buy blah 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 blah. It's not a money problem. But again, you're thinking about your first name. You're thinking about Jordan, not Payne. The two kiddos running around upstairs. And if you're really smart, you'll build it for multiple generations. I don't have grandkids, obviously, but I will. So again, like if you guys can just fall in love with this idea of I'm planting seeds that I might not see harvest in my lifetime, but if I'm going to change anything, I have to do something. And I know it seems so crazy. I'll grab my plaque here. I know it seems crazy, and I know what I'm saying. Everyone's like, yeah, no joke. I don't know if this is backwards for you guys, but it says bring back common sense. It might be backwards for you. I don't know. Bring back common sense. It's just common sense. But if it's common sense, how come none of you guys are financially free? How come none of you guys got generational wealth? Because common sense is common sense. Common sense, eating French fries is not good for you, yet everybody does it. Common sense. Nicotine isn't great for you, yet I do it. Like, it's not that common. It's not common sense if nobody does it. I think people are lazy. I think people are only thinking about themselves. And I think people are working for their first name, not their last name, because this is easy math. $100 a month, 10%, blah, 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 blah. You guys ever heard like those statistics of if you just saved $1 a day? I am more impressed. I know a lot of very wealthy people, and I am not impressed by the cars, and I'm not impressed by the mansions and the penthouses and the yachts and the fact that they have 14 girlfriends. None of that impresses me, and none of it's appealing to me. But when I talk to some of these guys that are talking about legacy, and here's a new word that I've been throwing around because it's different: dynasty. Big difference between legacy and dynasty. When they're talking about like what they did to set not just themselves, which again is very short-sighted, but their kids and their grandkids, and they're talking about like 5 generations deep. These are people that are creating foundations and family offices. I'm talking to a guy probably this weekend that has some good capital invested, and he's basically at the level where he can create a family office. That's impressive to me. Not, that you wear a fancy watch or that you drive a Bugatti. Not that you have a Lamborghini. I drove a Bentley, right? I drove a Bentley. Quickly got rid of it because it's very short-sighted. It's very short-sighted. I'm not saying you can't enjoy life. I'm not saying you can't go on vacations. I'm not saying you can't have nice things. I'm saying that if the goal is truly generational wealth and no one before you's ever done it in your family, and you are just going to continue to do what they've done thinking you're going to get a different result, you're not. I'm going to work harder than them. I guarantee you your grandparents worked harder than that generation, worked way harder than this generation. You're not going to work harder than them. I'm going to save more money. Saving doesn't get you financially free. I'm going to invest in Bitcoin. Yes, that works for some people. Sure, not against it. But even that, you guys get my point. Nothing changes, nothing changes. And if you want radical change, you have to have radical change. Cool. So some of the things that I'm doing, I'll wrap up with this. Some of the things that I'm doing, I do have brokerage accounts for long-term generational wealth. I do have brokerage accounts. They do a lot more than 10%, and I do put a lot more than $100 in them a month. Okay. I have this waterfall effect with the capital that I have, from very, very, very secure, a little bit higher risk, etc. And it all scales proportionately, but it's a lot more than $100 a month, and it's a lot more than 10% a month. Okay. It'll grow apples to apples. It'll grow more than $92 million before my kids are even out of the house. But that's part of it. Like, that's not the full picture. I have the Havila Metals Banking that has the beneficiaries for my kids. Okay. I have the ability to also edit that and modify that when I have grandkids. You guys get the point here, right? Okay. I have the ability to control a bit more of a family office. Okay. There's other things that I invest in. There's other things that I'm doing with some tax-free stuff. It's not a self-directed IRA, but it's like that. I can build and grow inside of that tax-free. Okay. Will I get to enjoy some of this in my lifetime? Obviously. But a lot of the seeds that I'm planting, even though it's difficult to plant seeds that you'll never harvest, even though that's difficult, I'm doing that because if nothing changes, nothing changes. You know why people never see the harvest? Anybody know? I'm going to give it a second. I want you guys to think about this. Why do these people not see the harvest or accomplish what they want to accomplish? What do you guys think? I'm curious in the chat. Paul said correct, not generational wealth. Dude, I'm sure your parents or guardians loved you. It's not a love thing, And for a lot of these people, like a lot of like blue collar people, it's not even like greed necessarily. Like, it's not that they were like greedy, right? It's just, you just don't know what you don't know. Any thoughts here? Any ideas on why most people won't see the harvest? Fear. That is huge. I think fear, and I understand what you're saying, but I think fear is really powerful in a good way. The thing here is like, who are you afraid of? Or what are you afraid of? There's so many people that are afraid of, like, if I miss this car payment, I'm going to go to jail. They fear whoever owns the mortgage on the car. They fear Toyota, or they fear Amex or Visa, or if I'm late on my rent, I'm going to get kicked out. Like, they're terrified of that. And Jordan, what if I invest the $100 or $377, or I buy metals, or like whatever the scenario is? What if I do that and I'm short money at the end of the month? What if I get a flat tire? Like, that's terrifying for a lot of people. And while that's terrifying, it's not, I am more afraid of other stuff. Like, yes, I get it. That's kind of scary. I'm more afraid of doing what everyone else has done for the past however long the Payne family name's been around and not accomplished the goal that I have. I'm not saying every single person had the same goal as me. That's not what I'm saying. Fear is big, but what are you afraid of? I think I have an episode, actually, a Coffee with a Killer episode about fear. Sounds like an amazing approach. Suggestions on how to go deeper dive or details, especially. I think a great spot to start is with the Havila content on the dashboard. I think that explains a lot of some of these thoughts that I'm having. Lack of discipline. Yeah. And said another way. Here, let me throw some of these up on the screen. Mr. Lowry. Yeah, or said another way. Habits, man. Habits. We're habitual people, man. We're people of habit, you know? And we get into this routine of this is just it's been a while, but I'm gonna try to see if I can remember my routine from when I worked a normal job. Um, obviously go to bed early on Sunday night so I can get up early on Monday morning, get up, brush my teeth, cup of coffee, get dressed. I would commute to work about 40 minutes, commute to work. I had my at work routine where I would get X, Y, and Z done. Lunch at 12, off work 5, 6, 7 if I'm lucky. Drive home, commute home, crack a beer, obviously, crack a beer, have dinner. Now it's 6, 7 o'clock, you know, watch something on TV. It's 8, 9 o'clock, go to bed. Repeat that. And then on the beginning of the month or whatever, I pay my bills or they're withdrawn. It's just habitual. So it's not necessarily, I agree with lack of discipline, but I also think it's just that we're people of habit. And to do what I'm describing to you, you'd have to disrupt that. They don't plant or they have to harvest. They don't plant or they try to harvest too early. That's a really good one. Other life events distract them to get off track. Yeah. John, that's what I was looking for. John, it's like we've known each other for a decade. John's probably heard this conversation multiple times. Yeah, so they start to plant things, and then they all of a sudden they need the money, or they're starving and they need to eat, or they think they need to eat. I'm gonna tell you guys a couple secrets. There's been times in my life, and this goes back to fear. There's been times in my life where I made a decision to be more afraid. This is really important, guys. I need you to listen to me. There's been times in my life where I've chosen to be more afraid of being stagnant and being complacent than being afraid of Amex. What I mean by that is I've chosen my family over Amex, and I didn't pay them. Guess what happened? Take a wild guess. There's been times in my life, and I don't love this, but there's been times in my life where I've chosen to be more afraid of being complacent than I've been afraid of paying my taxes. Guess what happened to me? Take a wild guess. There's been times in my life where I've chosen to be more afraid of being complacent than I've been afraid of having rent right on the first of the month. I've been a little bit late. What happened to me? There's been time you guys get my like guys, I can go over and over and over and over and over again where I have feared complacency more than the billion-dollar corporations. Guess what happened to me? I'll tell you the positive. Here's the positive. I built a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio. I've built hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of metals in my own bank that is growing at a ridiculous rate. I have multiple companies. I run a hedge fund that's got more than $200 million in committed capital. I'm working with almost 1,000 new traders a month. Guess what happened to me? It starts with an N. Let me know. Somebody said you're still alive. Things got resolved. I am indeed still alive. Guess what happened to me? Nothing happened to me. Nothing happened to me. Because I chose family first and I chose to be afraid of the right thing versus the wrong thing. Guess what? Amex is okay if I skip a payment. And if I'm a little bit late. Guess what? My landlord didn't evict me because I was a couple weeks late. I took that money and I did something. I bought something for my business, or I invested into something that would take care of my family for the next 100 years. Did I get an angry phone call? Yeah. Was it worth it? Yeah. Guess what? The IRS is going to be okay. I think people get scared. Back to John's comment, I think people get scared and they take the money, they take the seeds, and they have to eat them because they think they're going to starve if they don't. So all of everything that they built, this $100 a month turning into 92 million, that's like compounded. Like if you don't have to like take that money and kill the compounding, you kill the compounding has to start over at zero. They never give it the 10 years, right? We work with people. I just apparently love ruffling feathers today, but we work with people on some different tools. And I think one of our oldest tools is like maybe like a year and a half. Like a tenth of this. And people are already like, "Oh my gosh, I'm out. I want to quit. I want to cancel. Get me out of here." Dude, you started a month ago. Gonna kill the compounding, man. I decided to go a different direction. All right, but you're killing the compounding. You're gonna have to start over at zero. And they just keep on doing that. Guys, I'm gonna let you in on a secret. Something will always come up. Something will always happen. There'll always be an emergency. Jordan, there's an emergency. There's always going to be an emergency. Jordan, I just have a lot going on in my life. Hey, spoiler alert. Knock, knock. You're always going to have a lot going on in your life. Jordan, I'm just really busy right now. Dude, don't talk to me about being busy. Blows my mind. Here's this. I'm obviously on a rant. So if you guys don't like that, I'm sorry. It's so interesting that how so many people quit because they're so busy. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way they're busier than me. I'm married. I have 2 young kids. I run a hedge fund. I run an office. I run a trading program. I work with 1,000 new traders a month. You're not busier than me. You're not busier than me. So what's the difference? You're eating the damn seeds. That's the problem. Is you're killing the harvest, man. Like you're plowing up what you've planted because you're afraid of the wrong thing, or you're just too busy. Jordan, I'm just too busy. What do you have going on in your life? Well, I work 9 to 5. That's it? Yeah, work's been really busy. Dude, what? I work 9 to 5 and have 2 kids. You guys get the idea. Nothing changes, nothing changes. Okay? If you guys want something different, you got to do something different. If nobody in your lineage has accomplished generational wealth and you actually want to, do something different. Don't till up the seeds for the love of gold and silver. Don't till up the seeds. Let the doggone thing grow. Water the mofo. Let it grow. Don't rip it up. Amen? Appreciate you guys. This one's been a little bit longer than normal. I normally go about 15 minutes. I've doubled that. Hopefully this makes sense, guys. Much love. If you guys want further information on how to do some of this stuff, it's on our dashboard. It's actually free on our dashboard. So if you guys go to, let me throw this in the chat, just in case anybody doesn't have it. If you guys go to dashboard dot show on the screen right now, you dirty brisket. dashboard.blackgoldtrading.ai. You can create an account for free. You can see the Havila Metals banking stuff that I've done for free. Get all the episodes of Coffee with the Killer, all of the episodes of the Havila Metals podcast for free. You get all of the financial calculators and tools for free. If you guys haven't checked it out, do it. Dashboard.blackgoldtrading.ai. Love you guys. We'll see you next week.